To the program, everyone. Let's begin with an update on the tragic incident in Jigawa State, where the death toll from Tuesday's tank explosion in Majia town has now risen to 166, with another 50 persons currently receiving treatment for severe burns. President Tinubu yesterday directed a federal government delegation to visit the state and provide support to victims of the explosion. In a visit to the affected area, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, who is part of the delegation, emphasized the federal government's commitment to ensuring a reoccurrence of the tragedy. Well, also, the Inspector General of Police, Aiyedatiwa, has sympathized with the Jigawa State government and families of the victims over the tanker explosion. The IGP, in a statement by the force spokesman, Olumuyiwa Adejobi, commends the efforts of the police personnel as well as other emergency responders for their swift action in extinguishing the fire, evacuating the victims as well, and ensuring normalcy is swiftly restored to the area. While praying for the souls of the departed ones, the IGP reassures the general public of robust sensitization programs on the hazardous effects of oil scooping and other similar activities to avoid recurrence of such incidents. For scooping, no doubt, but I also think that attention should be turned to why it seems there are now quite a number of accidents in that regard with fuel tankers in Nigeria. And that's the root cause. I mean, before you scoop fuel, there was an accident. A similar one happened in Lagos yesterday. In the north central, a similar accident happened last month. There's a long list of incidents in this regard that require some comprehensive probe. But let's turn our attention to our bone of contention today. The countdown has begun to the governorship election in Ondo State. You can join the conversation right now on X using Beyond 100 Days. Remember to tag at TVC News NG and at Nifemi Okuntoye. 1 month from now, attention will turn to Ondo for the election of who will be saddled with the responsibility to direct the affairs of the state for another 4 years. Ondo's recent political history is marked by significant events. Late Governor Rotimi Akeredolu's health issues led to a period of medical leave, during which Deputy Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa took over as acting governor from June to September last year, and again from December 13th, 2023. Recall Akeredolu passed away on December 27th last year, and Aiyedatiwa was sworn in as governor. And then there's also the drama with Aiyedatiwa's ascension, which was preceded by speculation about potential impeachment plans, but he ultimately escaped those challenges to become not just the governor, but also the APC candidate in the November election. The big question, however, is whether he will survive the electoral test in November and just how our political parties jostling to take over the seat of power. Who will the sun shine on come November the 16th? Director, Media and Publicity, Ondo APC, Steve Otaloro, joins me on the show today. Also joining me is the Publicity Secretary of the PDP in Ondo State, Kennedy Perete. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the program. Let me begin with you, Mr. Perete. During your party's campaign flag-off earlier this week, the PDP did call for the redeployment of the resident electoral commissioner in Ondo State, Oluwatoyin Babalola. Help us understand what really are your party's concerns in this regard.
Well, thanks for having me this evening. Let me quickly say that the call for the redeployment of Mr. Babalola is hinged the fact that there are sufficient reasons bordering on inability to maintain neutrality in the November election. Because if there is supposed to be a referee for a match and the referee is seen in compromising position with one of the team officials, one of the teams that is supposed to, and there is cause for alarm. And, being alert is the first law. Vigilance is the first law for survival. And the call for the deployment is based on facts that have come to public domain, that there have been cases of a nocturnal meeting between the governor of Ondo State, Mr. Aiyedatiwa, and the REC. And we feel that it will be best serve the purpose of democracy if those who have responsibility for presiding over these elections
Mr. Perete, that's some huge allegations you're making there. I'm wondering if the PDP has evidence in this regard of a meeting between the resident electoral commissioner and the Ondo State governor.
Well, if such evidences are required, they will be put in the public domain, because all the time allegations are made until concrete evidence is put in the public domain. You hear the APC and its media minders say, oh, PDP is maybe crying foul when there is no foul. PDP is just in habit making wild allegations. So, even in this case, if the need arises for us to provide evidence, we'll do so.
Well, I am just hearing this for the first time. I mean, the allegation you just made. What was reported that your party's candidate said was that her state of origin was cited as a cause of concern. And I'm wondering, when did that become an issue where a person came from relative to how well she can do her job?
Let me say that there have been some kind of demonstrations at the INEC headquarters here in Akure, by some concerned groups over the same behavior. And, we don't want to wait until huge damages are done before we begin to raise alarm. So this alarm is in the very best interest of our democracy, which this democracy had the blood of Nigerians, to put on the line, also have the democracy. So everything must be done to protect our democracy.
All right. Talking about protecting our democracy, part of democratic ruling is fair hearing. We're joined now by Director, Media and Publicity, Ondo APC, Steve Otaloro. I'm sure you heard the PDP Publicity Secretary saying that there are some meetings that they have evidence of meeting between Governor Aiyedatiwa and Resident Electoral Commissioner in Ondo, which some way automatically disqualifies her as a credible INEC representative for this election. How do you react to this?
Well, I think that is new, of course. What we had initially was that she is from Ondo State. But for him to be putting up this kind of allegation, I think it's a serious one. That you are alleging that someone who is going to conduct the governorship election come November 16 is having a meeting with one of the candidates. It's a serious one. And you who alleges needs to prove it. You see, PDP, this is their game. They are coming up with one attack and the other, and they keep changing the narratives. That is what they've been doing for quite a while now. But I tell you, I can assure you, with Governor Aiyedatiwa never had any meeting with anyone. We are in this election to win. We are concentrating on our campaigns. We are just walked out of a strategic meeting to attend this interview now. All what we're concentrating on is how to win this election, not how to meet with one electoral officer who is not even likely going to be the one who is going to conduct the election. Because, of course, INEC will still send someone down from any of the university. And we all know what went down in Ondo State when we have a sitting governor, who left midnight to try to meet him with the electoral officer. It doesn't work. You see, the election belongs to the units, to our various wards, at the local government. It is the people that will decide this election, not an individual.
I hear you,
concentrating on
but
that.
The credibility
is not true.
The credibility of the REC overseeing this election is also critical for democratic sake. For instance, I'm looking at the statement by your party's publicity secretary, Alex Kalejaye, describing Governor Makinde's remarks as inappropriate and also stressing that Mrs. Babalola had demonstrated, quote, integrity, competence and capacity in her role since assuming office. He goes ahead to ask Makinde to stay out of Ondo State's political affairs. As a player in this election, shouldn't the APC be concerned if there are allegations against the rec, rather than supporting her? Because your letter is trying to convince the electorate otherwise, that she has capacity for integrity and competence. Is that something for the APC to prove?
We're not actually supporting her. We are actually defending the process. When you have a sitting governor somewhere who joined the PDP rally and making such a categorical statement, it wouldn't have been, it will have been worse. Assuming equally added to it that this woman had a meeting with the sitting governor. That would have been worse. But we felt he's behaving like an emperor. The way and manner, the demeanor he made that statement, as if he's in charge of Ondo State. That was why we made that statement. We are very concerned about the integrity of this election. And we will be more concerned if anything goes wrong with this election. Because the whole thing, all the indicators is on that we are on the winning side. So we are very concerned. So we are not supporting that woman, whoever is in charge. We are not supporting her. But we are supporting the process. We felt Governor Makinde shouldn't have made such statement, not in Ondo State, for God's sake. They have their candidates. They are aware there are things you could say in support of your party, but trying to demean the integrity of that policy, that election, it's something we will not take. And that was why the PRO issued that statement.
All right. Part of the controversies rocking the Ondo election is also the intent behind the approval by Mr. Governor of 73,000 naira minimum wage. We're going to talk about that shortly, right after this break. Stay with us, everyone.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu, do solemnly swear.
The PDP in Ondo State, Kennedy Perete. Gentlemen, thank you for staying the course on the program. Let's talk to the PDP for a minute. There are concerns about whether this campaign is actually being driven by issue-based ideas. For instance, the PDP is claiming that Mr. Governor's approval of 73,000 naira minimum wage is a strategic move to garner votes in the upcoming election. I mean, we all saw the process, the tripartite conversation, how this was passed by the National Assembly and immediately signed into law by Mr. President. We've seen other state governors also making this proclamation. I mean, what's the big deal with what Mr. Governor has done? Mr. Kennedy, that's for you.
Yes. You see, what we said about the 73,000 minimum wage is that there are committees that were set up by organized labor and the civil servants to work out the details of, this 73,000 naira minimum wage. But as I speak to you, I have it on very good authority that after the civil servants set up their own committee, the state governor and the government of Ondo State is yet to set up a committee that will sit with the civil servants to work out the scale, what each scale would translate to in terms of this minimum wage. So went to the media to announce that, we have agreed to pay 73,000 minimum wage. For us, it's just a mere campaign promise that will go flat like the other campaign promises. So it is just targeted at this election that is just less than 30 days away. Why has the government not sat with the civil servants to agree on what scale that amount of money will translate to? Ridiculously, one of the media strategies of the government went ahead to tell Nigerians, and those state people in particular, that when this scale, this 73,000 naira minimum wage is implemented, that health workers will use wheelbarrow to carry their monies, such an insult on the people of Ondo State. How much is the money that they will have to use wheelbarrow to carry? So as far as we are concerned, I mean, they have not done anything in the direction of paying this minimum wage. They're just doing what I call media stunt.
Mr. Osaloro, you heard the allegation that you ran to press without doing diligence, without setting up a committee and discussing consequential adjustments to score some political points. How do you react?
When that announcement was made, the organized labor issue a statement thanking Mr. Governor for this increment. The NUGE, today, I think yesterday, the NUGE, the national president of NUGE was in Ondo State to equally give an award for Mr. Governor for this feat as well. The people, these are the people who wants to receive the money. And I'm sure if due diligence was not done, they won't be in a position to be thanking Governor and giving him an award. Due diligence were done. You know, the organized labor were aware of what they are taking. But because Mr. Governor needs to announce some of his achievements to the people of the state, that was why that announcement was made at one of our rallies. It's not for any other reason. The organized labor have always been supporting APC, and they even made that promise as well. Now, for this one you've done again, we continue to support APC. So we are not in a position to use that, to induce the organized labor. These are professionals. Their leadership are people you can't just sway. The governor did the right thing. But you see, what PDP said was that for him to have added to that money, the government negotiated 70,000. For God's sake, Ondo State negotiated 73,000 naira. They were furious. They were dazed. They were not happy that this is happening at the period of election. Well, if you say it's a strategy, well and done. But it's a process. It's a process that led to that. It's just the timing was synchronizes with our rally, and the governor made the right thing. So the people are happy in those states. They are happy. They thanked him, and Mr. Governor said that's just the starting point. There will always be increment as we go. But the PDP said the 3,000. I keep mentioning 3,000 as if it's just 3,000. That's just level one. So I think the governor have done the right thing, and the people who are going to receive this money are very happy about it. That's important.
I hear you clearly, Mr. Kennedy. We haven't heard much from your candidate until the campaign flag off. I'm wondering what the issue was. Was it the division within the PDP at the national level? What do you consider to be the chances for Agbola Ajayi in this election, paying attention to how it does seem that the APC has united behind the incumbent governor?
Well, you must appreciate the fact that since 19th of June this year, when the campaigns were officially approved by the Independent Electoral Commission, National Electoral Commission, the candidate of the PDP and leaders of the PDP have been to almost all the local governments, 18 local governments of Ondo State, where we have almost on a daily basis received members of the APC who come to join us on the grounds that they are fed up with the disillusionment of the government of APC and with the hunger and starvation that have become the trademark of the APC government. So, and there is none of these decamping ceremonies in which the governorship candidate wasn't there. He was not just there alone, he was there with the entire campaign council and leaders of our party. So he's always been in the media space, he's been around, and since we officially flagged off on Tuesday, the campaign itinerary is already being put in place. The only thing that's been left is for the security agencies to check so that there will be no clashes of interest. The PDP will not be going to a particular location, the same location the APC intends to put that day. So once the security agencies vet the itinerary, we made public and we'll run with it. So we have always been there. There's no time anybody tells us or told us that there's a problem. And even the seeming crisis at the National Secretariat of the PDP have been arrested. The leadership of the PDP Governors Forum are taking decisive steps to ensure that interests within the party do not divide the leadership of the party. And on the flag of day, the chairman of PDP Governors Forum was on ground. Sheyi Makinde, who's leader of the PDP in the Southwest, was on ground. And the chairman of the National Campaign Council for the Ondo governorship election, Mr. Demola Adeleke, was also on ground. So where exactly is the division they're talking about? We are on ground, fully on ground, and I do not have any doubt at the back of my mind that the PDP will coast on with victory this election.
In a minute, if you can, we heard about allegations of high-handedness on the part of the state government as regards access to use of the Democracy Park, for campaign purposes. How easy is the PDP, going about its campaign under this administration?
Interestingly, the Democracy Pact was built by PDP administration. And in previous years, 2019, 2023, when the APC was holding sway here, we had access to the Democracy Pact. And because it was built with taxpayers' money, and when you say Democracy Pact, democracy means freedom, liberty. So it was unbelievable that the Ondo State government can deny us the use of a public facility. But because Ondo State belongs to all of us, we just went to a particular portion of Ondo State, as in the state capital, right, and locked down the streets, and had our rally, because Ondo State belongs to all of us.
All right.
That was the use, exactly how we use the Democracy Party. And that was the use of other facilities in the state.
We have run out of time. Let me allow the APC spokesperson to give his closing remarks in this regard. How committed is your party to giving opposition parties free and fair chances to participate in this exercise?
Well, let me first say, the Democracy Pact was not built by PDP administration. It was built by Dr. Mimiko when he was still in Labour Party. Today, the entire structure of Dr. Mimiko is now with APC. So when you are laying claims on certain things, you have to go back a little bit. You see, this government never denied PDP the use of that Democracy Pact. The Democracy Pact is under a certain management. There's a process to everything. Have you been able to fulfill all those processes? You've not. You only rush to the press. You see, if you're saying APC government deny you access to Akure now, for instance, if you are not using Democracy Pact, you know there are other places you are likely to use. Democracy Pact is not even the best for you. You created more optics by using the main road. So if you are saying we denied you the entire use of Akure, then you are talking. This is not true. The people in charge came up to say the day they booked for has already been booked by certain organization. And there's no way they could turn those people down. That was why they were denied that place. Not as if the government of APC denied them the use of Democracy Pact. That's not true. You see, we believe this election will be won by issue-based.
All right.
It's not through propaganda on attacks on APC. You will win the election by so doing. You have to come out with your policy. What do you want to do differently from what Governor Aiyedatiwa has been doing?
That's our time.
PDP could aspire to winning this election.
That's our time on the show.
About it doesn't look as if they are prepared for this
election. It's a good place to leave it.
People are watching.
Mr. Steve Otalero is the Director of Media and Publicity of Ondo APC. I've also been speaking with Kennedy Perete, who is Publicity Secretary of the PDP in Ondo State. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on the program. And that's our show tonight. You can watch it again at midnight and at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I'll be back at 7 p.m.